Okay, let's get into audience questions for the week as we see more vaccines roll out, surpassing 1.1 and even 1.2 million vaccines per day over the last few days, which is fantastic to see, although there's much more acceleration that still needs to be done. I'm getting more and more questions like, how long will mask wearing continue? The answer to this question is so complicated because, first of all, many people never started wearing masks. There are people who still just aren't wearing masks. Mask enforcement varies drastically in different states within the U.S. and in different countries. But I think the best way to get into this topic is to understand two things. Number one, how long mask wearing continues will in great part depend on how well different countries, regions, or states are handling the virus. The mask wearing will be necessitated by the virus continuing to spread and kill people. So the places that best and most quickly deal with the virus will most quickly be able to get away from mask wearing. Now, that being said, the more, and to be clear, none of this, I don't pretend to be an expert on this. I have just been gathering the opinions of experts on mask wearing. The cultural and medical ends of the pandemic are likely not to coincide. The medical end would be herd immunity has been reached and the R naught of this virus has come down to some very low level. And that is likely to happen after the numbers are low enough that in particular, people who are not at huge risk, who have been vaccinated, are ready to say, I am going back to life sort of as normal. The other thing that's important now, when that will be, if vaccination continues, I think, I'm not saying this is right, but you are going to see dramatically decreased mask usage probably by summer in a lot of areas. For folks who are at risk and who are going to remain more careful for a longer period of time or indefinitely, the masking in large crowded areas may not stop for years. And that's part of what we were talking about last week with Nicholas Christakis about there's a psychological and societal impact here where during flu season, there was a risk to going out without a mask for older folks and folks with compromised immune systems. It was always there, but it was not talked about in the terms it's talked about now with coronavirus. Even after coronavirus is, quote, dealt with, you may have folks in those categories who simply during flu season are wearing a mask anyway because they recognize that the level of risk that was always there is no longer comfortable without a mask. That remains to be seen. I do think it's important to mention that mask wearing, first of all, globally, the United States is somewhat unique in that there has been such a large political movement that considers wearing a piece of cloth over your face when around other people some kind of massive imposition on liberty and freedom. The Trump administration definitely resisted mask wearing in order to downplay the pandemic. It was a pretty unnatural argument to sustain when you saw how other countries were handling it. And many other countries were sort of confused. Why are there so many Americans who think just putting a piece of cloth over your face is something you should resist? It just reduces the chance of spread. We don't know exactly by how much. We can debate and study exactly how much it reduces it. But if it reduces it at all, then it seems like a good idea. It was not the political issue that it became in the United States elsewhere. But regardless, it's still quite popular in the United States. Look at early numbers, early polling about Joe Biden's actions on coronavirus. About 80% of the country agrees with Joe Biden's mask mandate, which, remember, it's only a mandate for federal buildings and federal workers and on interstate transportation like trains and planes. Within states and at normal places of employment and out in downtowns, it's still up to governors to enact and enforce. And it's more of a mask plea than it is a mask mandate, but it still has 80% support. So I think that we are going to see widespread mask usage continue certainly through the first half of 2021, whether it should or not. If vaccination continues and cases go down and deaths go down, you will see reduced masking, particularly in warmer areas, by the summer. I think there's almost no doubt that you are going to see it. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that's likely to be the case. And of course, we are going to see that the economy is very closely paid attention to. If you see more in-person things happening, although at first it will likely all be as long as people are wearing masks, I think that relatively quickly you will see people drop the masks, for better or worse. I'm not advocating for it, but that's sort of the trajectory that I'm anticipating.